Hello, JMU Nation. Dave Thomas, radio voice for the JMU Dukes football and men's basketball team here. Once again, spending some time with a former Duke now in the pros. And of all my time interviewing student athletes, this guy ranks up there in the very top of one of my favorite student athletes to ever interview. Now an Indianapolis Colts. Let's welcome Rondell Carter. Rondell, it is great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How about you? Everything good?
Doing fantastic. I know it's a very weird time, which we'll get into in just a little bit. But first of all, are you getting settled into Indy, man? You've been there, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I just finally got an apartment out here. I was on hotel duty for a little while, living in a hotel, and that kind of really got crazy for me. So, but finally I got an apartment up here, so I'm finally settling in well.
Walk us through what it's like to get a phone call. Yeah, this team's going to pick you up. You got to get out. What's the whirlwind like for you as a player? I mean, you're a single guy, so there's not family involved there, but there's still there's still moving parts, things that got to take place.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was, I'm going to tell you how crazy this was. For me, I had just finished unpacking for my apartment in Texas. I had just finished. Like, that was it was a Sunday night. I had just finished. Then Monday afternoon, Monday evening, I get a call from my agent saying, we think that Indianapolis is about to pick you up. So I'm like, Adam, listen, you do realize I just finished unpacking my apartment no less than 7-8 hours ago. He was like, man, I know, but I mean, what do you want to do? You can't. I'm like, I can't turn this down, but like, I literally just finished unpacking my apartment. Now I got to repack and bring all this stuff out here. So, it was pretty, crazy from that standpoint, because right after I unpacked everything, I had to repack within 2-3 hours. You know what I'm saying? And, that was just pretty crazy. I had to basically go into my closet, pack all my clothes back up, pack all my shoes back up, figure out what I'm going to leave here until I got time to come back and get all my, because I couldn't bring everything. I still have an apartment there. I have to finish unpacking and bring my stuff back out here. And then, like I said, I talked to the GM. I got a call late that night, and he was just like, we're going to bring you in, welcome. And it was a great conversation with him. And I had a flight the next morning, so I literally, from around 6 p.m. on that Monday, I had to get everything done at least by 1 a.m. And, I was on a flight that next morning, 8 a.m.
It is such a narrow window from when teams can protect players on their practice squad. Did you hear from Dallas during this process going, hey, wait a minute, we'd really like for you to stay around?
Yeah, absolutely. Dallas, it was a good situation, both sides. You know what I'm saying? Dallas definitely, I could have stayed there, you know what I mean? And they wanted me to stay there. But, it was just like, it's always just, you got to just take advantage of the opportunity that you get. This is a chance for me to be on the active roster, a chance for me to, hopefully I could potentially play. Not saying I wouldn't have played in Dallas, but just it was an opportunity, like a right now opportunity. And, everybody knows how it works. If someone picks you up off a practice squad, you get a credited season. If you stay on a practice squad all year, you don't get a season. Like, next year, you'll technically be a rookie again. So now I have a credited season towards my NFL career. So, that was huge for me. That was just a big thing that I took in consideration.
Something I've always been curious about, conversations you have with agents, and I don't need specifics, but tell me the kind of things you guys talk about, and do you ultimately have the say-so? Yes, I want to do this. No, I don't want to do this. Or how much influence does your agent actually put on the decisions you make?
Well, it's crazy. With my agent, we're more friends, if anything. It's not just agent to client business. Like, at least with mine, it's not. Me and him have a great relationship. So half the time, we don't even talk about football. Like, I'm in Indianapolis right now. He's telling me I need to try the Chicago deep dish pizza. That's around here. So I really don't. We don't really talk about a lot of football most of the time. If we do talk about football, it's about how's camp going, how I'm doing personally, how I'm feeling. What's my mental like? How am I going about with everything? Am I learning the playbook well? And when it comes to these decisions, ultimately it's my decision. The only thing that they can do is give me their advice. You know what I mean? So, like, my agent, he gives me his advice, but it's ultimately my decision. And we just have great conversations, and I trust his judgment. And I trust his advice, but ultimately it comes down to what I think and what I feel is best. And don't get me wrong, it was tough, but it ultimately came down to my decision.
What was the process of selecting an agent like? And I know you're very family oriented. How much input did your family have on who you chose as an agent?
Well, that's the thing. Due to me being family oriented, I wanted a family oriented person and a family oriented agency. And like, they treat me like family. It's crazy. I'm looking forward to my agent coming out here eventually to see me at my game, and I'm sure he'll bring his kids out here, and we'll have a good time. So like going into choosing it's hard. Like that's a hard process. Like that is one of the hardest process. That's worse than choosing a college, because now this is like your profession. You know what I mean? One thing about college, you can transfer to another college or whatever, but like the NFL, like this is like a big deal. So it took me about a full year to really think about what I want to do when it came to agencies, like because agents started hitting you up and all the good stuff, and legally you can't even really talk to them or accept anything. But I took a very long time. I didn't really choose my agent until the day like 2 days before I had an idea about who I was going to go with agency-wise before my NFLPA game. Like I had an idea of who I was going to go with. Obviously, you can't choose, but I had a pretty good idea. And like I said, I was one of the guys that was family-oriented. I knew he was going to take care of me. How many FCS guys do he have? Like that was the biggest one for me. Like I didn't want an agent who has a bunch of SEC, Big Ten guys, because at the end of the day, I'm not at that level. Like it's easy to market those people. It's easy to market them. But FCS guy from a small school, how can you market that guy? And that's what I was looking for in an agent, and my agent does pretty well at that.
Once the draft was over, Rondell, what was the process like? Because I know you had some suitors, you had some teams coming after you. When you had to make a decision, because at that point, when you're an undrafted free agent, you have the power. You can go, I want to go here. So what was the process like of being suited by teams?
Okay, and then that's the another part. So that part was even crazier. Like, that part was crazier because I'm like, dang, this is 20 teams. Like, it's like 20, 25 teams calling. I'm like, over me? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, it was like you put the work in and you expect it, but it's also still crazy when your phone starts blowing up like that towards the end of the draft process. So once you started getting to like the last 5 picks of the draft, I kind of knew I wasn't ready to get drafted. Looking at the team, so I was talking to, they didn't have any of the last few picks, so I knew I wasn't going to get drafted. And then I started getting phone calls from almost every coach in the league, like almost every NFL coach and scout in the league. And that process is tough. That's when, again, you talk to your agent and, he tells you his advice, what he thinks best. Then you start looking at depth charts. That's when it really gets crazy. You start looking at, all right, who's on this depth chart? How many years this guy have in the league? Stats, whatever. Like you start looking at a bunch of different things that you can take into consideration. And at the time, when I was at the moment, Dallas was just like the perfect fit. And it obviously was a little bit of icing on the cake when I seen when Ben got drafted. So it was just a good situation, and it was Dallas, good area, great coach staff with Coach McCarthy, and all those guys came in. So at that time, it was a good situation.
Did it make the transition easier having been there for the both of you? Somebody, a familiar face, somebody you could lean on?
Yeah, absolutely. Because NFL is football in general. Football is hard. Like, it's hard. And I wasn't used to that heat that Dallas brought in practice. So after you have one of those long days in practice, it's good to be able to go just sit next to Ben's locker and be like, man, that was a tough one today. And then we just talk about it. Or, if I have a bad day, he lift me up. If he have a bad day, I lift him up. And it just always that was perfect. Like, it was just so helpful and beneficial to have him there. Because, like I said, like, it was some rough days there that I had, some rough days that he had. We can literally just do the same thing we did in college, just talk about it. And then, we just get it off our chest, move on to the next day.
Who was the first person you called when Indy called and said they were picking you up?
My dad. Yeah, I called my dad. I was just like, Dad, it's happening. He's like, what's happening? I said, I'm getting activated. And then I told him that was Indianapolis that called. And then he was like, because I trained with Robert Mathis. Robert Mathis, former Indianapolis Colts, going to be a Hall of Famer. I trained with him during the offseason, like before the season even started. So, obviously that helped. He was like, oh, so you're going to be there with Mathis? I was like, yeah, I'm going to be there with my guy, man. So he was excited. I mean, you can't imagine. Actually, he's going to come out here this weekend to the game this weekend.
What was your conversation with Ben like when you told him that you were heading out?
So Ben was really excited for me. He texted me at first. He was like, "Are you going? You said you really going to Indy?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." He was like, "Let's go." Like, what I mean? If you know Ben, you know how energetic he is. He was like, "Man, let's go, man." And he was just, "I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you, man. I just can't wait to see you go kill it because I know you're about to. Just keep doing your thing, And so that was a great conversation. I had a lot of support when I made that decision.
How much communication have you had with Ben since the dynamic in Dallas at quarterback has changed? Obviously, his role on that team's going to change. So, what's your communication been like to him?
I haven't talked to him yet. You know what I mean? I'm sure we'll have a conversation. You have to give, like, after that situation happens, you have to give it a rest for a little minute because that's, prayers up to Dak. When I was there, Dak was another guy that made me feel very comfortable. He's a straight up dude. You know what I mean? You in there, he make you feel so comfortable. He make you feel like you're a teammate, and that's just like I said, he's a great guy. So there's always something to see that happen to anybody, but especially to him. You know what I mean? Knowing everything he's going through this year. So like I said, big prayers up to him. But I'm sure I'll have a conversation with Ben because, like I said, his role is about to change. Now he's officially the backup quarterback. That's literally what it is now. Like Andy Dalton's the starter. He's going to be the backup quarterback. One thing I know about Ben, he's going to be ready, though. I've seen him in practice. I've seen him sling the ball like how he's been doing in college. He'll be fine. So I'm sure I'll talk to him in the next few days.
Take me back to walking in the Dallas locker room for the first time and then transitioning in season. Now you're walking into the Indianapolis locker room. Are those similar instances or are they different?
Football locker room is a football locker room. You got guys from all over the globe. You got guys that went from different colleges. You have D1, D2 guys. You have JUCO guys. You got black, white, Hispanic. You got all kind of guys. You know what I mean? And it's really no difference. You know what I mean? The good thing is I've been in two locker rooms, and both locker rooms are great guys and great people. So it was a little bit of a transition because when you're going with your rookie class, those are the guys you build a bond with. Those are guys who you, like I said, go through the rough practices with and, go through the tough times with, and then y'all come out on top and like, hey, we made the team or, whatever else you have gotten on in their life. And then you come here and now it's like, oh, everybody's new. I don't know anybody in here. I did have one former teammate that I went to Rutgers with. He's here. So that helped a little bit. And but for the most part, you don't know anybody. And now those guys already built relationships with each other throughout camp. And now it's just the new guy coming in, So the good thing is about I have the D-line group here, they all great dudes. DeForest Buckner, Justin Houston, all those guys, man, they good dudes. They just dope people. So I have had a good chance to talk to them, and they make me feel welcome here.
Have you had any of those moments where you're like, wait a minute, 365 days ago, I'm watching you on TV. Now I'm here in the locker room with you. Have you had that instant?
Yes, I had that with a few people. Like, when I walked in and I seen, like, when I was in Dallas and I walked in, I seen Dak. I'm like, it was a small conversation with him. Like I said, he's a cool dude. Like, you can have a regular conversation with him. I'm like, I'm watching you on TV every Sunday. You know what I mean? Now, like, you're my teammate. And then now I'm in there with DeForest Buckner and Phillip Rivers. And, Phillip Rivers is always one of my favorite quarterbacks, like, always. So I'm in there and I'm like, wait, we teammates now. I used to watch you growing up. You know what I'm saying? And it's just crazy you have those surreal moments. You know what I mean? Like, even at the game this past week, you on the field and you watching the game and stuff, I'm like, this is Odell Beckham. Like, this is Myles Garrett. Like, these are NFL superstars. And you, like, on the field with them and watching them in live in action, So I've had a few of those moments, but it gives you a sense of reality, like, you're in the NFL, and this is everything you work for, and, your dreams are coming true. So it's pretty cool.
Does that cause you to want to work harder now that you're there? Do you have that realization, wait a minute, I'm on the same roster with these guys?
Absolutely. And I've always had that chip on my shoulder. I've always had that fire lit up under me a little bit at all times. I'm waiting for my moment. I'll be ready when my moment comes, but I'm waiting for it. So it definitely makes you want to work harder. It definitely want to make you be like, all right, now I want to be on the field in action, live, ready to go. Like, it makes you want to get out there and do that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm looking forward to the most at this moment right now, man.
You told me at the beginning of last season, right, as the 19 college football season was starting, you felt stronger and faster. Now you've gone through the season. Of course, you're conditioning with your trainer. You've been through a pro camp. You're on a team. How do you feel right now?
I feel great. What I mean? It's, you want to go into it nervous a little bit because you're like, all right, well, like your first high school practice coming from rec league, you're going to be nervous. I'm like, all right, this is the next step. Your first college practice from high school is going to be a little nerve-wracking because you're like, all right, well, this is the next step. Now from college to the pros, like, everybody here is professionals. Like, these are real live professionals. So you can't really, come in with anything less than your A game. So it makes you become better. It makes you become better. So it's definitely it's a little nerve-wracking at first. But now that I got the hang of it and now that I know what I'm going against, and it makes you realize, like, you're here for a reason. You get out there, you can make a play or two, and then you realize, like, man, this is I've done this in college. You know, I can continue to do this, but it does let you know that you got to get better at everything. Like coming to this level lets me know everything I need to work on. You know what I mean? Like because now, like I said, everybody's great. Everybody was an All-American in college. You know, so you know now how can you become an All-Pro potentially or a Pro Bowler? You know, so now you got to see what you got to work on, and you know hopefully I can get to that point one day.
You spent a lot of time, especially the last couple of years, watching film, especially going into last year. I think you had some things you wanted to prove for this team. Now that this is your job, now there's no classes to go through.
Right.
What's a day like for you, and how much film are you watching?
Oh man, so you know it's weird because like I said, this like you said, it's your job. You know, like after this, I don't have homework, I don't have study hall, I don't have classes, I don't have any of that. You know, so you know for me, you get up early in the morning, you have your COVID testing. Then after you do your COVID testing, you check in, and then you do maybe your lift or whatever. Then after that, you meet for a couple hours. Then you have lunch, you get tape, and then you get ready for practice. And after practice, you meet again. You probably do a walkthrough, and then you go home. You know, you're done by 4:30, 5 o'clock. You know, it's like a regular 9 to 5 almost. So now what are you going to do at that time? I don't have, like I mentioned, I don't have homework or class or nothing. Now that's when you go in your playbook. You know, now, you know, for me, I've been in my playbook more, obviously, because I'm trying to learn this playbook. You know, it's different than what I was doing in Dallas. So I'm trying to learn this playbook. So I've been doing a little more film study. I mean, a little bit more playbook study than film study as of late because I'm trying to learn a playbook. You know, I don't want to be watching film on something I don't know. You know, that's like, you know, counterproductive. So I've been doing a lot more playbook stuff as of late. But once I get this playbook down, I'm sure I'll be watching a ton of film because I watch practice film all day. I want myself what I can get better at. Watch film on certain players like, you know, other D linemen and stuff like that. Good thing here, I have two great D linemen and Justin Houston, like, and DeForest Buckner. I get to learn from them all day. Like, you know, I get to learn from them every single day. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing. And then when I was in Dallas, I got to learn from Everson Griffin and Alden Smith and stuff like that. Like, I had two great situations where I was able to learn from some NFL greats. So, you know, I'm fortunate.
In college, you played at a high level at Rutgers. I remember when Coach Houston, he told me you were coming in. And he said, we're bringing a kid in who can play inside, he can play outside. He's strong, he's fast, he's quick. You know, you elevated your game when you got to JMU. And then, of course, under Coach Heatherman and Coach Signetti, I think it took even a further step.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So how did JMU prepare you for where you are now through the coaches that you trained under?
Man, I mean, so I always tell people that when I had multiple coaches, like, it was to my benefit. You know, I had 4 coaches in 5 years in college. So I got 4 different styles of strength and conditioning, 4 different styles of position coaching, 4 different styles of head coaching, you know, and each one of those coaches were different. From Coach Flood that I had my first year at Rutgers, from Coach Ash my second year, Coach Houston my first 2 at JMU, and then Coach Signetti, all of them are different, you know, and I was able to learn different things from each one of those coaches. You know what I mean? Like each and every single last one. And that helped me tremendously because I was able to learn, okay, well, I'm in this system. How can I be effective and efficient in this system? You know, if I'm in at 3-tech, you know, like I was doing with Coach Houston and Coach Strott's defense, I go to 3-tech at, you know, 3rd down. How can I be effective here? Then I'm playing strictly on the tight end in that defense. How can I be effective here? Then, you know, you switch to Coach Heatherman's defense and I'm doing a lot more different things for stunts or whatever the case may be. How can I be effective here? You know, so and when I was at Rutgers, I switched to I was like 280 pounds. Like I was huge. And so I was playing like a 4 technique, 3 technique. When I got to Dallas, that's what I was doing. You know, so I'm like, it helped me so much because I played in 4 different defenses basically. And I was almost effective in all of them. You know, so that's why when I got to the NFL, now it's like, all right, well, I played every position on the D-line almost. So it's like where you want to put me. And then now I just got to learn and see how I can get better at them.
You talked about having to have a COVID test every day. Obviously, the pandemic has changed the way we live our lives right now.
Mm-hmm.
How much are you able to get around and learn Indianapolis? Do you know your way around much at all? How difficult is it for you right now?
Man, I use Google Maps all day long, man. I can pull out my phone, I have to maps everything. I don't know where I'm at. Like I don't even know how to get home from the facility yet. You know, I still got to use my map every single day. I was just learning Dallas when I was there, just figuring it out around there. But you start to realize that everything's a big circle. But I haven't learned this way yet. I'm getting it, but I haven't learned it yet. You obviously got to be, cautious about everything because of COVID, so you can't be out and about everywhere. But I'm once I get down how to get from home to the facility, I'll start figuring everything else out first. I'll start figuring everything else out after that, though.
Were you living out of a hotel for a while when you first got there, or did they put you in a place? How did that work for you?
Oh, no, I was in a hotel. I was on hotel duty. I was at a hotel about 6-7 minutes away from the facility. I was getting a shuttle bus over there every day to the facility, and then I was like, man, I can't live out of a hotel. I was living out of a suitcase. There was no drawers in there, so I'm like, I can't do this. So I talked to our guy here, DT, and he found me a place up here that I can move to about 15, 20 minutes away from the facility. I got my car's getting shipped out here. Hopefully by the end of this week, my car gets out here. I'm driving a rental car right now, but just to get me around and about right now. So it's weird. How it normally works is they put you in a hotel and then they take care of you till you go on your feet until you find a place, and they try to help you out with that. And luckily, the Indianapolis Colts did a great job finding me a spot.
Last question, and we sort of touched on this earlier, how family-oriented you are. Of course, you got to play with your brother Robert at JMU.
Yeah.
How is your family? Obviously, the pandemic and everything going on, and just how much contact are you able to have with them now? Obviously, you're texting, I'm sure, quite a bit.
My family, everybody's good. Everybody's healthy. Luckily, everybody's happy and everybody's safe. That's the number one thing. During camp, I wasn't able to talk to anybody, basically. Obviously, how camp is, but NFL camp is a little bit different because it's longer and it's obviously a little bit more intense because this is your job now. It ain't like in college you make a mistake, all right, you lose a couple reps or whatever. You making a lot of mistakes in NFL, you get cut. So you got to be on your P's and Q's 24/7. You know what I'm saying? That's just the nature, that's just the reality of it. But luckily, I've gotten settled in. I'm out of camp now. Now I'm into the regular season. The days aren't as long. Days aren't as stressful. Now I got to talk to my family a little bit more. Like I said, my brother and Rob's coming out here on Friday, and my dad's coming out here on Friday too. So we all get to see each other. They're going to come to the game. We're going to have a good time, man. I can't wait to see them.
Well, man, we're just thrilled for you. Congratulations on being activated to the Colts, and we're looking forward to seeing you do great things because we know you're going to. Just know that JMU Nation's definitely pulling for you. We're behind you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, Dave, always.
Rondell, thanks for the time.
Not always.